The morning shift at the Galactic Employment Bureau was like every other morning on Station Nexus 7. Hundreds of beings from dozens of worlds waited in long lines, their forms clutched in their various appendages, hoping for work assignments that would take them across the galaxy. Hyunwoo sat behind his processing desk, reviewing applications with the same tired efficiency he had maintained for the past 15 years. Traders, miners, technicians, and laborers passed before him in an endless stream. Each one carried the same desperate hope for steady employment in the vast emptiness of space. The Bureau processed nearly 3,000 applications every standard day. Most were routine: a Centauri looking for transport work, a Kellian seeking employment in atmospheric processing, a Vorthan hoping to join a mining crew. All standard, all predictable, all easily categorized and filed. That was why the red warning light on his terminal surprised him so much. Hyunwoo looked up from his screen to see an unremarkable being standing before his desk. The creature was roughly his own height, with 2 arms, 2 legs, and a face that seemed almost familiar in its simplicity. Nothing about the applicant appeared dangerous or unusual. Yet his computer system was flashing emergency warnings across every display. "Next," Hyunwoo called, gesturing for the being to approach. The applicant stepped forward and placed his documents on the desk. "Good morning. I am Taeho. I would like to apply for deep space salvage work." His voice was calm and pleasant. His manner was polite. His clothing was clean and simple. Everything about him suggested a routine application from a routine applicant seeking routine work. Hyunwoo picked up the documents and began entering the information into his system. Name, Taeho. Species, human. Age, 28 standard years. Previous experience, various manual labor positions. The moment he entered the home address, every alarm in his terminal began screaming. "Danger!" flashed in red letters across his screen. "Class C death world detected, extreme hazard, no survivors possible." Other clerks at nearby desks looked up at the sound. Applicants in line began murmuring nervously. The entire processing floor seemed to pause as dozens of beings turned to stare at Hyunwoo's desk. Hyunwoo read the address again. Earth, Sol System, Outer Rim Territory. According to his computer, this was the location of one of the most dangerous planets in the known galaxy. The archives listed it as completely uninhabitable, a world so hostile that no intelligent life could possibly survive there. "There must be some mistake," Hyunwoo said, looking up at Taeho. "This address cannot be correct." Taeho tilted his head slightly. "What seems to be the problem?" "Your listed home address corresponds to a planet classified as a Class C death world. Earth is marked in our archives as extremely hazardous with no known survivors. Surely you meant to list a different planet." "No," Taeho replied simply. "I was born on Earth. I lived there for most of my life before coming to the station. It is my home." Hyunwoo stared at him. Around the processing floor, conversations had stopped completely. Even the supervisor was walking over to see what was causing the commotion. "That is impossible," Hyunwoo said carefully. "Earth is documented as one of the most dangerous worlds in the galaxy. The atmospheric composition alone would kill most known species within minutes. The gravity is crushing. The weather patterns are catastrophic. The geological instability makes settlement impossible." Taeho shrugged. "It can be challenging at times, but people adapt." "People," Hyunwoo repeated slowly. "You are saying there are others like you living on this death world?" "Of course. Earth has several billion humans living on it. We have cities, governments, trade networks. It is quite populated." The supervisor arrived at the desk, his 4 eyes wide with concern. "What is the situation here, Hyunwoo?" "Sir, this applicant claims to be from Earth. The system has classified his home planet as a Class Z death world." The supervisor looked at Taeho with obvious disbelief. "Young being, I think you may be confused about your place of origin. Earth is known throughout the galaxy as a cautionary tale. It is a world where no intelligent life can survive." "With respect, sir," Taeho said politely, "I think your information might be outdated. Earth is very much inhabited. I can provide Additional documentation if needed. He reached into his simple travel bag and pulled out more papers. Identity documents, birth certificates, educational records, employment history. All of them listed Earth as his place of birth and residence. The supervisor examined each document carefully. The papers appeared genuine. The official seals were correct. The formatting matched standard galactic documentation. Yet they all confirmed that this being had somehow lived his entire life on a planet that should have killed him before his first breath. "How is this possible?" the supervisor asked. "How is what possible?" Tejo replied. "How do you survive on a world with such extreme conditions? Our records show that Earth experiences massive storms, earthquakes, temperature fluctuations, and atmospheric toxicity levels that would be fatal to most species." Tejo considered this question seriously. "I suppose we just learned to live with it. Humans build strong houses to handle earthquakes. We have weather prediction systems to prepare for storms. We developed medicine to deal with diseases. When you grow up somewhere, you learn how to manage the local conditions. But the gravity alone," Hyunwoo interjected. "Our measurements show Earth gravity is nearly twice the galactic standard. How do you function under such crushing force?" "You get used to it," Tejo said. "Actually, the low gravity here on the station took some adjustment. I kept jumping too high when I first arrived." A crowd was beginning to gather around the desk. Other applicants pressed closer to hear the conversation. Word was spreading quickly through the processing floor that someone claiming to be from the legendary Death World Earth was applying for work. "What kind of work are you seeking?" the supervisor asked. "Deep space salvage operations. I have experience with mechanical repair, heavy lifting, and working in difficult conditions." "Difficult conditions," the supervisor repeated. "Such as?" "Well, on Earth we often work outdoors during storms, underground in unstable areas, or in locations with dangerous wildlife." "I thought space salvage might be similar but probably easier since there would not be as many variables to consider." The supervisor and Hyunwoo exchanged glances. Around them, other species were backing away from Tejo, suddenly nervous about standing near someone who treated deadly hazards as minor inconveniences. "We will need to conduct additional verification," the supervisor said finally. "This is a highly unusual situation." "Of course," Tejo agreed. "I understand that my background might require extra paperwork. I am happy to provide any additional information you need." As he stood waiting patiently for further instructions, the other applicants continued to stare at him with mixtures of fear, fascination, and disbelief. Here was a being who claimed to call the galaxy's most notorious death world home, and he seemed as calm and ordinary as anyone else in the room. The morning at the Galactic Employment Bureau had suddenly become much more interesting. 3 days had passed since Tejo submitted his application. The Galactic Employment Bureau had never faced such an unusual situation. Word had spread throughout Station Nexus 7 about the human who claimed to live on a death world. Some called it impossible. Others whispered that it might be true. The supervisor decided that extraordinary claims required extraordinary verification. Dr. Nari arrived at the bureau early that morning, carrying her testing equipment and wearing her official xenobiologist uniform. She had studied dozens of species from across the galaxy. She had written papers on biological adaptation and survival mechanisms, yet she had never examined a being who supposedly came from Earth. "Are you certain about this?" she asked the supervisor, as they prepared the testing facility. "Our standard evaluations could seriously harm someone who is not properly adapted." "That is exactly what we need to determine," the supervisor replied. "If this Tejo is truly from Earth, then our tests should be manageable for him. If he is lying, then we will discover it quickly." The testing chamber was designed to evaluate the physical and mental capabilities of potential employees. Most species required careful monitoring and immediate medical support when exposed to conditions outside their comfort zones. The chamber could simulate various environmental hazards that workers might encounter in deep space. Tejo arrived precisely on time, dressed in the same simple clothes he had worn 3 days earlier. He looked well rested and calm, showing no signs of nervousness about the upcoming evaluation. "Good morning," he said politely to Dr. Nari and the supervisor. "I understand you need to conduct some tests." "Yes," Dr. Nari replied, studying him carefully. "We need to verify your physical capabilities and stress responses. These tests can be quite challenging. Are you prepared to proceed?" "Of course, what would you like me to do?" Dr. Nari led him into the testing chamber and began explaining the first evaluation. "We will start with atmospheric tolerance. The chamber will cycle through different gas compositions and pressure levels. Most beings can handle perhaps 2 or 3 variations before requiring medical intervention." "Understood," Tejo said, taking his position in the center of the chamber. The first test began with a reduction in oxygen levels. Most applicants showed signs of distress within minutes. Tejo continued breathing normally. The pressure dropped to simulate high-altitude conditions. Other species would be gasping by now. Tejo appeared unchanged. Dr. Nari increased the pressure to simulate deep ocean environments. Then she added trace amounts of gases that were toxic to most known life forms. Tejo stood quietly, occasionally looking around the chamber with mild curiosity. "How are you feeling?" Dr. Nari asked through the communication system. "Fine, thank you. The air tastes a bit different, but nothing concerning. Is this similar to what I might encounter during salvage operations?" Dr. Nari looked at her readings in amazement. The current atmospheric conditions would have incapacitated most species within the first few minutes. This human was treating it like a minor inconvenience. "We will proceed to the next test," she announced. The temperature evaluation began with extreme heat. The chamber heated to levels that would cause heat stroke in most beings. Tejo removed his outer shirt and continued standing calmly. The temperature dropped to freezing conditions that would cause hypothermia in unprotected individuals. Tejo put his shirt back on and waited patiently. "Are you experiencing any discomfort?" Dr. Nari asked. "It is a bit warm and then a bit cool, but nothing unusual. On Earth, we experience much greater temperature changes between seasons." The gravitational stress test came next. The chamber increased gravity to twice the standard level, then 3 times, then 4 times normal. Most applicants would be crushed to the floor by now. Tejo continued standing upright, though he did stretch his back once. "This is more like home," he commented. "The low gravity on the station makes me feel like I might float away sometimes." Dr. Nari was recording unprecedented readings. Every measurement exceeded the normal ranges for galactic species. Yet Tejo showed no signs of distress or effort. The final physical test involved exposure to radiation levels that would be lethal to unprotected beings. Safety protocols required immediate evacuation if subjects showed any cellular damage. Tejo stood in the irradiated chamber for the full duration, showing no ill effects whatsoever. "How is this possible?" Dr. Nari whispered to the supervisor. "These radiation levels should have killed him." "Perhaps his species has natural protection," the supervisor suggested, though he sounded doubtful. The psychological evaluations were equally surprising. The chamber created high-stress scenarios, designed to test mental stability under pressure, simulated equipment failures, life-threatening emergencies, and isolation scenarios that would break most minds. Tejo approached each challenge with calm problem-solving. When the chamber simulated a hull breach during space operations, he quickly identified emergency protocols and began systematic repairs. When confronted with multiple system failures, he prioritized tasks efficiently and worked steadily toward solutions. "Do these situations concern you?" Dr. Nari asked during one scenario. "They require attention and care," Tejo replied while manually rerouting power systems. "But we face similar problems regularly on Earth. Equipment fails. Systems break down. Weather creates emergencies. You learn to stay calm and fix what you can." By the end of the day, Dr. Nari had accumulated data that challenged everything she thought she knew about biological limitations. Tejo had passed every test not just successfully but easily. Conditions that would hospitalize other species barely registered as inconveniences to him. "I have never seen anything like this," she told the supervisor as they reviewed the results. "His tolerance levels exceed our military-grade conditioning programs. His stress responses are remarkably stable. His physical capabilities are extraordinary. So you believe his claims about Earth? Dr. Nari looked at the data again. The evidence suggests that if Earth is truly as dangerous as our archives indicate, then living there would produce exactly these kinds of adaptations. His capabilities make sense if he actually grew up in such extreme conditions. Meanwhile, word of the testing had spread throughout the station. Other job applicants had heard about the human who treated deadly hazards as minor annoyances. Some withdrew their applications rather than compete with someone so obviously superior in handling dangerous conditions. Tejo remained unaware of the stir he was causing. When the test concluded, he thanked Dr. Nari politely and asked when he might expect to hear about potential job assignments. Very soon, the supervisor assured him. We will have placements available for someone with your unique qualifications. As Tejo left the facility, Dr. Nari began writing her report. She had tested thousands of beings over her career, but none like this human. If there were more like him on Earth, then the galaxy had seriously underestimated both the planet and its inhabitants. The question was no longer whether Tejo could handle dangerous work. The question was whether any job would be dangerous enough to challenge him. 2 weeks after the testing, Tejo received his assignment. The Galactic Employment Bureau had placed him aboard the salvage vessel Prosperity's Edge, under the command of Captain Jinsu. The ship was scheduled to depart Station Nexus 7 within 3 days. Captain Jinsu was a veteran of the Outer Rim territories, a grizzled spacer who had spent 30 years recovering valuable materials from wrecked ships and abandoned stations. His crew was small but experienced, each member carefully chosen for their skills and reliability in dangerous situations. He was not pleased about having an untested crew member forced upon him by the Bureau. A human, Jinsu muttered as he reviewed Tejo's file in his cabin. From Earth, of all places, the Bureau must be desperate to assign me someone from a death world. His engineer, So Young, looked up from her maintenance reports. Maybe the stories about Earth are exaggerated. The Bureau would not assign someone dangerous to our crew. The Bureau assigns whoever they want, Jinsu replied. It is our job to make it work. Navigator Dong Hyun entered the cabin carrying star charts for their next mission. I heard about the human. Other crews are talking about him. They say he passed tests that would kill normal beings. Rumors and stories, Jinsu said dismissively. We will judge him by his work, not by gossip. Medic Yoonji joined the conversation from the doorway. I reviewed his medical records. His physical capabilities are remarkable. If the data is accurate, he could be very useful for dangerous operations. We shall see, Jinsu concluded. He reports for duty tomorrow morning. Tejo arrived at the Prosperity's Edge precisely on time, carrying a simple travel bag and wearing practical work clothes. The ship was older but well-maintained, built for function rather than comfort. Its hull showed the scars of countless missions into hazardous areas. Captain Jinsu met him at the airlock. I am Captain Jinsu. Welcome aboard my ship. Thank you, sir. I am honored to join your crew. Jinsu studied him carefully. The human appeared ordinary in every way. Nothing about his appearance suggested the extraordinary capabilities mentioned in his file. Let me introduce you to the crew, Jinsu said, leading him through the ship. So Young is our engineer. She keeps our systems running in impossible conditions. So Young looked up from an open maintenance panel and nodded politely. Welcome aboard. I hope you are ready for challenging work. I am looking forward to it, Tejo replied. Dong Hyun is our navigator, Jinsu continued. He finds safe paths through dangerous space. Dong Hyun emerged from the bridge, wiping grease from his hands. The human from Earth. I have heard interesting stories about your testing. The tests were thorough, Tejo said simply. The Bureau wanted to verify my capabilities. Yoonji is our medic, Jinsu concluded. She keeps us alive when missions go wrong. Yoonji approached with obvious curiosity. I have never treated a human before. Your species has remarkable resilience. According to your medical records, we heal reasonably well, Tejo agreed, though I try to avoid needing medical attention. Jinsu showed Tejo to his quarters, a small cabin with basic amenities. Our first mission begins tomorrow. We are recovering valuable research data from a wrecked science vessel in the Korath Nebula. What makes this mission particularly challenging? Tejo asked. Radiation levels that would kill most beings within hours, gravitational anomalies that can crush ships, unstable debris fields that shift without warning, the usual hazards of deep salvage work. Tejo nodded thoughtfully. Similar to working during storm season on Earth, dangerous conditions require careful planning and quick adaptation. Jinsu raised an eyebrow. Storm season? Earth has several weather patterns that create hazardous working conditions. High winds, electrical storms, temperature extremes, flooding. We learned to work around them. The next morning, the Prosperity's Edge departed Station Nexus 7 and entered hyperspace toward the Korath Nebula. During the journey, Jinsu observed his new crew member carefully. Tejo worked efficiently, learned quickly, and never complained about assignments. When they dropped out of hyperspace near the target coordinates, the magnitude of their challenge became clear. The wrecked science vessel hung in the middle of a swirling mass of radioactive gas and twisted metal. Energy discharges crackled through the debris field like lightning. Standard approach, Jinsu announced to his crew. Full environmental suits, limited exposure time, emergency evacuation procedures ready. The crew began suiting up in their heavy protective gear. The environmental suits were bulky but necessary for survival in the nebula's hazardous conditions. Tejo appeared on the bridge wearing only a basic breathing mask and safety harness. Where is your environmental suit? So Young asked in alarm. I was told this equipment would be sufficient for the radiation levels we will encounter, Tejo replied, checking his breathing apparatus. Those are emergency backup systems, Yunji explained. You need full protection for extended exposure to these conditions. The mission briefing indicated radiation levels comparable to Earth's natural background in certain regions. This equipment should provide adequate safety margins. The crew stared at him. Captain Jinsu consulted his instruments. The radiation levels outside their ship would require full environmental protection for his species. Yet according to Tejo's records, humans regularly lived with similar exposure on their home world. The most dangerous section is the research vessel's core area, Jinsu explained. The power systems are still active but unstable. Someone needs to manually access the data storage and reroute power to prevent a cascade failure. I volunteer for that assignment, Tejo said immediately. It is extremely dangerous, So Young warned. The core section has the highest radiation levels and most unstable gravitational fields. Understood. What tools will I need? Jinsu made a decision that went against decades of caution. Very well. But you work with full communication contact and immediate extraction if conditions become too hazardous. Of course, Captain. As the Prosperity's Edge approached the wreckage, the crew watched their screens nervously. The debris field was worse than their initial scans had indicated. Metal fragments spun through space in unpredictable patterns, powered by the gravitational anomalies. Tejo maneuvered through the obstacles with steady efficiency, communicating his progress in calm, professional tones. He reached the core section and began working on the power systems while floating in conditions that would have incapacitated the rest of the crew. How are the radiation levels? Yunji asked anxiously. Elevated but manageable, Tejo reported. Similar to working near the old reactor sites on Earth. Old reactor sites, Donghyun repeated in disbelief. He speaks of deadly radiation zones like they are neighborhoods. 2 hours later, Tejo had successfully recovered the research data and stabilized the wreck's power systems. He returned to the ship showing no signs of distress or fatigue. Mission accomplished, he reported simply. The crew looked at him with new respect. What they had considered an extremely dangerous operation, he had handled like routine maintenance work. Captain Jinsu began to understand that the stories about humans might not be exaggerations after all. The successful mission in the Korath Nebula changed everything aboard the Prosperity's Edge. Captain Jinsu found himself assigning increasingly dangerous tasks to Tejo, not from cruelty, but from necessity. The human consistently proved capable of handling conditions that would require his entire crew working together. 3 weeks into their partnership, The crew gathered in the common area for their evening meal. The conversations had evolved from polite professionalism to genuine curiosity about their human colleague. Tae-ho, So Young began as she served the simple meal. You mentioned working during storm season on Earth. What are these storms like? Tae-ho considered the question while eating. They vary depending on the region and time of year. Some storms bring high winds that can destroy buildings. Others create electrical activity that can kill anyone caught in the open. Coastal areas experience massive waves that can flood entire cities. Dong-hyun looked puzzled. How do people survive such conditions? We build structures designed to handle the stress. Houses are anchored deep into the ground to resist wind, damage. Cities near water have barrier systems to control flooding. We develop warning systems to predict when storms are coming. But why live in such places at all? Yoonji asked. Surely there are safer locations. Everywhere on Earth has some form of natural hazard, Tae-ho explained. Some regions have earthquakes that can split the ground open. Others have volcanic activity that covers areas in burning rock. Mountain regions experience avalanches and extreme cold. Desert areas have temperatures that can kill within hours. The crew exchanged glances. Each hazard Tae-ho described casually would be classified as a planetary emergency by galactic standards. What about the wildlife? Captain Jinsu asked. Our archives mention dangerous predatory species. Tae-ho nodded. Yes, Earth has many animals that can be threatening. Large predators in some regions, venomous creatures in others, microscopic organisms that cause disease. Most animals avoid humans, but encounters do happen. How do you protect yourselves? Education, preparation, and respect for the dangers. We learn which areas are more hazardous and take appropriate precautions. We develop medicines to treat injuries and diseases. We create tools and technologies to improve our safety. So Young leaned forward with growing fascination. It sounds like your entire world is trying to kill you. Not trying to kill us, Tae-ho corrected gently. Earth is simply Earth. It has its characteristics just as any world does. We adapted to live with those characteristics. But how does anyone accomplish anything when constantly facing such threats? Dong-hyun wondered. The same way you accomplish things in space, Tae-ho replied. Space has radiation, vacuum, extreme temperatures, and countless ways to die. Yet you learn to live and work here. Earth taught humans similar lessons. Captain Jinsu was beginning to understand something important. These conditions made your species stronger, perhaps. Or perhaps they made us more flexible. When you grow up expecting challenges, you develop skills to handle them. When normal life includes solving problems, you become better at finding solutions. Hyunji pulled up some images on her medical tablet. Could you show us what human settlements look like? Tae-ho accessed his personal files and displayed pictures from Earth. The crew saw cities built to withstand massive storms with buildings that bent without breaking. They saw communities constructed on floating platforms to handle seasonal flooding, mountain settlements designed to survive avalanches and extreme weather. These structures are remarkable, So Young breathed. The engineering required to build safely in such conditions must be extraordinary. We have had many generations to develop the techniques, Tae-ho said. Each challenge taught us something new. Each disaster showed us better ways to prepare for the next one. The images continued. Agricultural systems that produced food despite unpredictable weather. Transportation networks that functioned during natural disasters. Communication systems that operated when traditional infrastructure failed. Your people turned survival into a science, Captain Jinsu observed. Survival, adaptation, and improvement, Tae-ho agreed. We learned that problems are opportunities to develop better solutions. 2 days later, their conversation was put to the test. The Prosperity's Edge received an emergency distress call from a mining operation in the Vega system. A massive asteroid had collided with their primary facility, causing catastrophic damage and trapping workers in the lower levels. When they arrived at the disaster site, the situation was worse than reported. The asteroid impact had destabilized the entire mining station. Structural failures were cascading through the facility. Rescue teams from other ships had been forced to retreat due to the dangerous conditions. "We need to reach the trapped miners before the station collapses completely," the rescue coordinator explained over communications. "But the access routes are too dangerous for standard rescue operations." Captain Jin-Soo studied the schematics. The path to the trapped miners led through sections with failing life support, structural instability, and radiation leaks from damaged power systems. "I can reach them," Taeho said quietly. "The conditions down there would kill anyone in minutes," the rescue coordinator warned. "Perhaps, but the miners will certainly die if no one tries to help them." Jin-Soo looked at his human crew member. Over the past weeks, he had watched Taeho handle every dangerous situation with calm competence. More importantly, he had learned that humans approached problems differently than other species. "What do you need?" Jin-Soo asked. "Basic tools, emergency medical supplies, and portable life support equipment for the miners." The rescue coordinator is right about the danger, So Young said. "Even for you, this could be fatal. On Earth, we have emergency responders who enter dangerous areas to save people," Taeho replied. "Sometimes the risk is worth taking." He prepared quickly and efficiently, selecting equipment with the practiced ease of someone accustomed to emergency situations. As he prepared to enter the damaged station, the crew watched with a mixture of admiration and concern. "Be careful," Yoonji said. "I will. Monitor communications and be ready for emergency extraction if needed." Taeho entered the failing mining station and began making his way toward the trapped workers. The crew tracked his progress through the ship's sensors, watching as he navigated through areas that should have been impossible for anyone to survive. His calm voice provided regular updates as he worked through one crisis after another. Structural collapse blocked his path, so he found alternate routes. Radiation levels spiked beyond safe limits, but he continued forward. Life support failed in several sections, but he pressed on using portable breathing equipment. 3 hours. Later, he emerged from the station leading 12 rescued miners to safety. The rescue coordinator was speechless. "How did you survive those conditions?" "Carefully," Taeho replied. "The miners needed help. Someone had to provide it." As they returned to their ship, Captain Jin-Soo realized that his understanding of humans had fundamentally changed. They were not just physically resilient. They possessed something more valuable: the willingness to face impossible odds when others needed help. Earth had not simply made humans stronger, it had made them heroes. Word of the mining station rescue spread throughout the galactic community, faster than hyperspace communications could carry it. Within days, every major news network was reporting the story of the human who had saved 12 miners from conditions that should have been instantly fatal. Dr. Nari watched the reports from her research facility on Station Nexus 7, taking careful notes as interview after interview described the impossible rescue. The miners themselves spoke with awe about their mysterious savior who had appeared in the darkness when all hope seemed lost. "He moved through areas where our sensors showed lethal radiation levels," one miner explained to reporters. "The temperature readings would have killed us in seconds. Yet he walked through like he was strolling through a park." "The structural damage was severe," another added. "Metal beams were falling constantly. He guided us around the dangerous areas like he could predict where the next collapse would happen." Dr. Nari had been working on a research paper about human capabilities ever since Taeho's remarkable testing results. The rescue had provided additional data that challenged everything the galactic community believed about biological limitations. Her paper, titled "Reconsidering Earth: Evidence for Successful Adaptation to Extreme Planetary Conditions," was published in the Journal of Xenobiological Studies 3 weeks after the rescue. The response was immediate and intense. "This is impossible," declared Dr. Veltar, the galaxy's leading expert on planetary habitability. "Earth's environmental conditions are beyond the tolerance range of any known intelligent species." "The evidence suggests otherwise," Dr. Nari replied during their public debate. "We have documented proof of human capabilities that far exceed our previous understanding of biological adaptation." The debate attracted attention from researchers, military leaders, and government officials. across the galaxy. If humans could survive on Earth, then perhaps the planet was not the death world described in the archives. The Galactic Archives Division launched a formal investigation into the classification of Earth. A team of researchers began reviewing the historical data that had led to the planet's death world designation. What they discovered was troubling. The original surveys of Earth were conducted by automated probes, lead researcher Dr. Cawthon explained to the review committee. These probes measured environmental conditions, but never attempted to detect intelligent life. What did the probes find? Asked Committee Chairman Vexil. Atmospheric composition with dangerous oxygen levels, extreme weather patterns, high radiation from the local star, geological instability, gravitational force significantly above galactic standard. Based on these measurements, the computer systems classified Earth as uninhabitable. Were there any follow-up investigations? None. The Death World classification meant that no rational being would attempt to visit or study Earth. The planet was marked as too dangerous for exploration and forgotten. While the Archives Division conducted their investigation, something else was happening in deep space. Long-range sensor arrays had detected unusual energy signatures coming from the Sol system, where Earth was located. The signals were artificial, technological. They indicated not just life, but an active industrial civilization. Captain Jin Su and his crew were among the first to receive the classified reports about the Sol system discoveries. Their experience with Tejo had made them valuable consultants for understanding human capabilities. The signals suggest a large-scale technological society, the intelligence briefer explained. Multiple planets in the system show signs of industrial activity. There are artificial structures in orbit around several worlds. How large a population are we discussing? Captain Jinsu asked. Conservative estimates suggest billions of individuals, possibly tens of billions. So Young leaned forward in her chair. You mean there are billions of humans like Tejo? That appears to be the case. We may have discovered the largest uncontacted civilization in galactic history. The implications were staggering. If Earth hosted billions of beings with capabilities similar to Tejo, then humanity represented a major power that had been developing in isolation, while the galaxy assumed their world was empty. Meanwhile, salvage companies and exploration firms were beginning to request human crew members specifically. Tejo's success had proven that humans could handle missions that were impossible for other species. We are receiving contract offers faster than we can review them, Captain Jinsu told his crew during their weekly meeting. Everyone wants to hire humans for dangerous operations. That could be a problem, Yunji observed. If demand exceeds supply, someone might try to exploit the situation. Tejo had been listening quietly to the conversation. Are there concerns about how humans might be treated if word spreads about our capabilities? Some species might see humans as valuable resources rather than individuals, Donghyun said carefully. History shows that powerful abilities can make people targets for exploitation. Perhaps it would be wise to establish contact with Earth before that happens, Tejo suggested. If humans are going to become part of the galactic community, it should happen on fair terms. Captain Jinsu nodded slowly. You may be right. The galaxy is about to discover that Earth is not a death world, but the home of a species that treats death worlds as normal living conditions. Dr. Nari's research had reached similar conclusions. Her follow-up study suggested that Earth might be unique not because it was unusually dangerous, but because it had produced a species capable of thriving in such conditions. Most worlds that develop intelligent life are relatively stable and safe, she explained to her research colleagues. Earth's extreme conditions forced rapid adaptation and technological development. Humans may represent the most resilient species the galaxy has ever encountered. What does this mean for our understanding of habitability? Asked Dr. Merton. It means we may have been wrong about what constitutes a livable world. If humans can thrive on Earth, there may be thousands of other worlds we classified as uninhabitable that could actually support life. The investigation into Earth's classification revealed another important discovery. Deep space monitoring stations had been detecting signals from the Sol system for over 50 years. The signals had been ignored because the computer systems assumed no intelligent life could exist on a death world. We have been receiving transmissions from Earth for decades, the monitoring station commander admitted. Radio communications, television broadcasts, even early attempts at interstellar contact. We classified them as natural phenomena because our system said Earth was uninhabitable. The review committee was silent for a long moment. Are you telling us that Earth has been trying to contact the galactic community for 50 years and we ignored them? That appears to be correct, sir. The galaxy was about to learn that they had not discovered Earth. Earth had been trying to find them all along. The Galactic Council approved the first official diplomatic mission to Earth with unprecedented urgency. After 50 years of ignored signals and the discovery of billions of uncontacted humans, the galaxy could not afford to delay formal contact any longer. Captain Jin-Soo volunteered his ship and crew for the historic mission. The Prosperity's Edge had become famous throughout known space as the vessel that proved humans could work alongside galactic species. More importantly, they had Taeho to serve as guide and cultural interpreter. Are you prepared to return home? Captain Jin-Soo asked Taeho as they prepared for departure from Station Nexus 7. I am looking forward to seeing my family again, Taeho replied, though I suspect they will be surprised to learn about the galactic community. Ambassador Kriven, from the Galactic Diplomatic Corps, had joined the mission, along with Dr. Nari and a team of xenobiologists and cultural specialists. The ambassador was nervous about making first contact with a species that could survive in conditions lethal to most galactic citizens. What should we expect when we reach Earth? Ambassador Kriven asked during the journey. A warm welcome, I hope, Taeho answered. Humans are generally curious about meeting new people. They will probably have many questions about the galaxy. Will they be intimidated by our technology? Dr. Nari wondered. Unlikely. Humans adapt quickly to new situations. They will be more interested in learning how things work than worried about being overwhelmed. The trip to the Sol system took 12 days through hyperspace. As they approached Earth's solar system, the crew prepared for what they might find. Long-range sensors had detected signs of an advanced civilization, but no one knew what to expect from humanity's home. When they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, the crew stared at their displays in amazement. The system was bustling with activity. Orbital stations circled Earth and several other planets. Ships moved between worlds in organized traffic patterns. The Moon hosted massive industrial complexes and residential areas. Mars showed signs of active terraforming projects. This is not a recently contacted civilization, So-Young observed. This is an established interplanetary society. Look at the energy signatures, Dong-hyun added. Their power generation exceeds anything we expected. Ambassador Kriven was studying the communication frequencies. They have been monitoring our approach since we entered the system. We are receiving several contact attempts. Should I respond? Taeho asked. Please do. This is your homecoming. Taeho activated the communication system and transmitted on standard Earth frequencies. Earth control. This is Taeho, aboard the galactic vessel Prosperity's Edge, requesting permission to approach Earth for diplomatic contact. The response came immediately. Taeho, this is Earth control. Welcome home. We have been expecting contact from the galactic community for some time. You are cleared for approach to orbital. Station Unity. As they traveled toward Earth, more details of human civilization became visible. The orbital stations were engineering marvels, designed to function in the harsh environment of space while supporting millions of inhabitants. Ships of various sizes moved efficiently between stations, planets, and asteroid mining operations. They built all this while living on a death world, Yoonji said in wonder. They built this because they lived on a challenging world, Taeho corrected gently. Earth taught humans to create solutions for difficult problems. Orbital Station Unity was larger than most galactic space stations, with docking facilities that could accommodate ships of any configuration. As the Prosperity's Edge approached, they were guided to a special diplomatic berth. A welcoming committee was waiting when they disembarked. Ambassador Minna, representing Earth's government, stepped forward with a warm smile and extended her hand in the traditional human greeting. Welcome to Earth space, she said. We are honored to finally meet our galactic neighbors." Ambassador Kriven was surprised by the casual confidence of the human diplomat. Most species were overwhelmed during first contact situations. Ambassador Minna seemed perfectly comfortable with the historic moment. "We must apologize," Ambassador Kriven began, "for the delay in establishing contact. Our archives incorrectly classified Earth as uninhabitable." "We suspected something like that," Ambassador Minna replied. "Our radio telescopes detected galactic communications decades ago, but our signals were never answered. We assumed you were not ready for contact." Dr. Nari stepped forward with obvious excitement. "I have been studying human capabilities. Your species shows remarkable adaptation to extreme conditions." "Thank you. We understand our world is considered challenging by galactic standards. We developed our technologies and social structures to handle Earth's characteristics." As the diplomatic teams exchanged formal greetings, Tejo looked out through the station's viewing ports at the blue and white planet below. Earth looked exactly as he remembered: beautiful, dynamic, and alive with swirling weather patterns that would terrify most galactic species. "Would you like to visit the surface?" Ambassador Minna asked the delegation. "Is it safe for us?" Ambassador Kriven inquired nervously. "We have prepared facilities that should accommodate your environmental needs. However, we recommend short visits initially until you become accustomed to our conditions." The journey to Earth's surface revealed more of humanity's achievements. Cities built to withstand natural disasters stretched along coastlines and mountain ranges. Agricultural systems produced food despite unpredictable weather. Transportation networks functioned efficiently despite the challenging geography. "How do you maintain all this infrastructure on such an unstable world?" So Young asked as their transport descended through the atmosphere. "Careful engineering and constant maintenance," Ambassador Minna replied. "We design everything to handle the worst conditions Earth can produce. Then we monitor and repair systems regularly." They landed at a diplomatic facility on the coast, where Tejo's family was waiting to greet him. His parents and siblings welcomed him home with joy and curiosity about his galactic adventures. "You look well," his mother said, hugging him tightly. "Space travel agrees with you." "I learned many interesting things about how other species view our world," Tejo replied. "They consider Earth extremely dangerous." His father laughed. "I suppose it can be challenging if you are not prepared for it, but it is home." As the day progressed, the galactic delegation observed human society with growing amazement. Children played safely in conditions that would require emergency evacuation on other worlds. Workers maintained infrastructure during weather that would shut down galactic operations. People lived normal, productive lives while treating planetary hazards as routine inconveniences. "Your species has accomplished something remarkable," Dr. Nari told Ambassador Minna. "You turned survival into prosperity. We prefer to think of it as making the best of our situation," Ambassador Minna replied. "Every world presents challenges. Earth taught us to meet challenges with creativity and determination." That evening, as Tejo walked along the beach where he had grown up, he watched the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. Storm clouds gathered on the horizon, promising rain and wind that would concern visitors from other worlds. Captain Jin-Soo joined him on the beach. "It is beautiful here." "Yes, it is. It is also dangerous, unpredictable, and demanding. But it is home. The galaxy is going to change now that we know about Earth." "I hope so. Humans have much to offer. We learn to solve problems, adapt to challenges, and help each other through difficult times. Perhaps these skills will be useful beyond Earth." "I believe they will be. The galaxy needs people who can handle the impossible." As they watched the approaching storm, Tejo smiled. Soon humans would spread throughout known space, bringing their resilience, creativity, and determination to worlds that had been considered too dangerous for settlement. The galaxy had spent centuries avoiding challenges. Humanity had spent millennia embracing them. Together they would discover what was possible when survival became a foundation for greatness. The archives would need to be updated. Earth was not a death world. Earth was humanity's greatest teacher, and humanity was ready to share its lessons with the galaxy.